The book, The Simple Path to Wealth, by J.L. Collins tells the story of how having an emergency fund saved his friend's financial life. The author's friend, who he refers to as the doctor, was a successful physician with a great income and a high net worth. However, he made the mistake of not having an emergency fund. One day, the doctor received some bad news. His medical license was suspended due to an investigation into a malpractice suit. This meant that he could no longer practice medicine and, as a result, lost his primary source of income. Without an emergency fund, the doctor was forced to sell off his investments and assets to pay for his living expenses. This meant he had to take a significant financial hit and delay his retirement plans. On the other hand, the author, who had an emergency fund in place, was able to weather a similar storm. He recounts a time when he lost his job and was unable to find work for 6 months. However, because he had an emergency fund, he was able to continue paying his bills and living expenses without touching his investments. The author emphasizes the importance of having an emergency fund as a financial safety net. It can help individuals avoid financial ruin in times of unexpected hardship. He recommends building an emergency fund that can cover at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. The doctor's story is a cautionary tale about the importance of having an emergency fund. It's a lesson that everyone should take to heart, regardless of their financial situation. An emergency fund is essentially a stash of money set aside for unforeseen circumstances such as job loss, medical emergencies, or major home repairs. It's an essential component of any financial plan, and can provide peace of mind knowing that you have a safety net in place. The author of The Simple Path to Wealth recommends keeping your emergency fund in a high-yield savings account or a money market account, where it can earn some interest but still be easily accessible when needed. He also advises against investing your emergency fund in the stock market or other high-risk investments. The money in your emergency fund should be kept in a safe and stable place so that you can access it quickly when an emergency arises. One of the benefits of having an emergency fund is that it can help you avoid going into debt in times of financial hardship. If you don't have an emergency fund and you experience an unexpected expense, you may have to rely on credit cards or loans to cover the cost. This can lead to high interest payments and a cycle of debt that can be difficult to break. An emergency fund is an important part of any financial plan, and can provide a much-needed safety net in times of unexpected hardship. By keeping your emergency fund in a safe and accessible account, you can avoid going into debt and maintain your financial stability even in difficult times. Building an emergency fund can seem daunting, especially if you're just starting out. However, there are some strategies that can help you build your fund over time. 1. Start small. Even if you can only save a small amount each month, it's better than nothing. 1. Every little bit adds up over time. 2. Set a goal. Determine how much you want to save in your emergency fund, and then set a timeline for achieving that goal. 2. For example, you might aim to save 3 months' worth of living expenses within a year. 3. Automate your savings. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your emergency fund each month. 3. This can help you save consistently without having to think about it. 4. Cut back on expenses. Look for ways to reduce your monthly expenses so that you can put more money towards your emergency fund. 4. For example, you might cancel subscriptions you don't use, eat out less often, or find ways to save on utilities. 5. Use windfalls wisely. If you receive a tax refund, bonus, or other windfall, consider putting it towards your emergency fund rather than spending it on non-essential items. Remember, building an emergency fund takes time and patience. But by prioritizing your savings and sticking to your plan, you can build a strong financial safety net that will give you peace of mind for years to come. Another important aspect of building an emergency fund is knowing when to use it. Your emergency fund should be reserved for true emergencies only, such as unexpected medical bills or job loss. It's important to establish clear criteria for what constitutes an emergency and what does not. For example, a vacation or new car purchase would not be considered an emergency. When you do need to use your emergency fund, make sure to replenish it as soon as possible. Aim to build your fund back up to its original level within a few months of using it. Lastly, keep in mind that your emergency fund is just one part of your overall financial plan. It's important to also focus on reducing debt, investing for the future, and building wealth over time. Having an emergency fund is a crucial component of a strong financial plan. By starting small, setting goals, automating your savings, cutting back on expenses, and using windfalls wisely, you can gradually build a fund that will provide a safety net in times of need. Just remember to use it wisely and replenish it promptly when needed. Learn, grow, and prosper with GP School of Finance. Subscribe now and unlock the keys to financial success.